Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy, and we're starting out with Goddess of the Moon, Man Holding Heart, and the Sun. And the reason that came out is because of the Appreciation card. So, the way different people could be harnessing their Aquarius energy, and we all tap into Aquarius energy. It has to do with our dreams and how we view ourselves, how we view the world. Do we have hope and faith and belief in love? Are we more caught up in ourselves, looking like a shining star in the world, right? So there's some people in the world who could either have a lot of fears that they kind of keep buried beneath the surface, or they try to hide that they are more self-focused or more about the world. They could try to create the illusion, the man holding heart, is that they are more motivated and inspired by love. And this would be like the King of Cups. And the masculine energies can represent how people present themselves in the world. But people can present themselves in the world any way they want. This would be someone who tries to present themselves like they harness high vibe Cancer energy. I am motivated and inspired by love. I work together with people cooperatively from love. But some people really aren't who they say they are, and they harness their Cancer energy, again, regardless of what zodiac sign they are, because we all tap into all the different traits and characteristics of all the zodiac signs in a more high vibrational, more worldly, or more shadowy way. And some people just wear a good false mask of presenting themselves as like a loving family person, that people should want to be in relationships with them and have a new beginning with them. But it could be more, I just want to have a new beginning, let's get in a relationship, or I need a new job, you should hire me for this job. But some people are hiding. It is either more, they're more about themselves, they're more about ego and image or indulgence. Other people are the real deal. Other people are people who have learned lessons in life, who are listening to their intuition. They are motivated and inspired by love, and they're being authentic. They're not operating from their ego nature. And then it's up to other people to listen to their intuition, which is what the Moon card can talk about. Who's who? Who is being truthful and authentic? More independent of their more worldly, shadowy nature, and who's trying to confuse me about the truth of who they are, that they really don't harness these energies in a high vibe way, and they're kind of just creating an illusion because they want to be in a new relationship or get a new job or find a new friend, right? We're either authentic and honest, and our truth is to work together with people being authentic and loving, stable, grounded, have learned lessons in life, or we're just trying to create the illusion of being that type of person. Tell us more about this story that's going on in Aquarius energy. So it's kind of interesting, the moon over here and the sun over here. We all have our dualistic nature. We all have to make decisions in our life. We all have our more fearful, insecure, prideful, immature, self-indulgent, our shadow nature, which is what the moon can represent. We all have our more high vibrational, intuitive, loving nature. Which one are we going to invest in? Which one is our truth? Some people haven't decided what their truth is, and they're still trying to figure out what their truth is. And we do come in contact with all these different people in the world to try to help us get more clear about our truth, what our truth is, what their truth is, and, hopefully eventually we will pick one path or the other. Yep, I'm more motivated and inspired to make decisions in my life from hope and faith and belief in love than fear or insecurity or codependency or lust or greed or materialism. But there's some people in the world, some people are definitely moving forward in more high vibrational energy. Some people are definitely moving forward hiding that they're more shadowy. And then there's kind of the other people that haven't picked a path yet. And we know all sorts of different people in the world. And with a lot of people, we can all know people that we think are more immature or bossy or egotistical or whatever. We can work with a bunch of different people. We can have different types of people in our family, in our friend group, in our neighborhood. Loving people are able to listen to their intuition about people. And I can be loving and encouraging to all sorts of different people. Do I want to get in a more involved relationship with you and have like a new beginning, which is what the sun can talk about? No. Like, we're acquaintances, or we work together, or you're a friend. Because I've already been in relationships with people who are more bossy or controlling or egotistical or self-centered or whatever. Have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. And I'm going to stay independent because the appreciation card is reminding me, of course, of the Nine of Pentacles, Virgo energy. I have seen who is motivated more by themselves or the things of the world. And I have known people who are more authentic and loving and warm and who've learned more lessons in life. And I choose to want to invest more of my time and energy into the people who I think have learned some of the same lessons I've learned. And if my intuition tells me that some people aren't being authentic, that they are more driven by their self-indulgent nature, their ego, or something, I'm going to kind of stay independent of them. And I'm going to keep listening to my intuition about the different people in my life. Tell us more about this story of what's going on in Aquarius energy, the Ten of Swords. Why? Because of the Three of Cups. So, the Three of Cups, like the King of Cups, I view as Cancer energy. High vibe people no longer want to be in relationships. The 10 is like, nope, that's over. I don't want to be in relationships with people who don't harness high vibe Cancer energy. There are people in the world who, again, regardless of what zodiac sign they are, they kind of use their Cancer energy, their emotions, and their intuition in kind of a shadowy way in order to emotionally manipulate people. And some high vibe people have already been in relationships with people like that, and they don't want to be in relationships with people who are like that anymore. And they're not being emotionally manipulated by their own more shadowy, immature, fearful, insecure, codependent nature. I am not going to let my more shadowy nature manipulate me, because when I align with that within myself, then I kind of get in relationships with other people that are in shadowy energy. And I don't want... It starts within me. And I was illuminated to the truth. I had to learn to love me. I do have my shadow nature. I do have my fears, my insecurities, my self-limiting beliefs. I chose to invest in high vibe Leo energy of loving and believing in myself. Being in the light, choosing to offer myself love and compassion and forgiveness for how I've backstabbed myself in my life. And, I could have rejected loving people and rejected love in my life because I had these lessons to learn in my life, and I was kind of more caught up in the world or in myself or in my fear or whatever. And I offer love to the whole thing so I can let it go. I offer love and compassion to myself for the lessons I've had to learn. I offer love and compassion to other people in my life that got their lessons to learn. I have been illuminated to the truth. This whole process made me do this inner work within myself to free myself. Because high vibe energy is about freeing yourself from things that manipulate you. Our shadow nature at the big picture is represented by the devil. All these things that manipulate us, within us and outside of ourselves. Other people, the world. Some loving people who are loving and encouraging to other people got in some mismatched relationships, and they weren't seeing the truth of it. And they could have been in relationships with people who kind of do wear a false mask, are more about themselves or their ego or something. And we all could have been in that energy because we've all got these lessons to learn. But if one person during the course of that work situation or friendship or romantic relationship, they work through some of the things that used to manipulate them and those things no longer manipulate them. The tens talk about completing a cycle. You no longer view life the same way you view it. Whatever things that used to kind of manipulate you and how you viewed yourself, how you viewed the world, how you viewed other people, what kind of influenced how you lived your life, something changed, because at least there's one thing, if not more, that you kind of work through those things. You shed light on them. Both the Sun and High Vibe Virgo energy is about doing that inner work to shed light on the things that manipulate you, that instill fear and insecurity in you, that stop you from loving and believing in yourself and believing in your dreams. And you offered love and compassion to all those things, to bring them out into the light, to offer them love and compassion and forgiveness, so that they don't have that kind of hold on you. And then you move forward. You're not the same person you were before. And so sometimes the friendships and relationships that we were in, there can be a problem in the relationship now, because now we are kind of more mismatched. Where before, in some degree, we could have kind of been on the same page. Either just more motivated by the world, more motivated to be in a relationship, Not anymore. Whatever used to influence the decisions I used to make and how I viewed my life and myself before, I'm not that same person anymore, because there was things that used to emotionally manipulate me that I worked through. They don't emotionally manipulate me anymore. Oops, got an alarm on my phone. But some of the people in our life, they're still in that energy. And sadly, some people are just like, you've changed. You're not kind of in that same energy. Maybe we don't like doing the same things anymore. You want to go maybe do different things now than what you used to do before. And some of those people then don't want to hang out with you. And you might have some people you don't want to hang out with really anymore. With some of the people, we can wish everybody peace and love, but hey, I kind of still like to live my life and view life the way I live it. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you freed yourself from whatever manipulated you, but now we're just not kind of on the same page anymore, but I wish you peace. With some people in our life, we all know that, are we going to get in a romantic relationship? Everybody accepts the truth. No, we're not, but I wish them peace and they wish me peace. We just kind of aren't on the same page. But then there's other people in our life that they're mad that some people freed themselves from some things that manipulated them, because they might not want to free themselves from some things that manipulate them. And if there's some things in their life that they're emotionally unwilling to detach from, which can just be other people in their life that manipulate them, how the world manipulates them, how their fear or their ego or bossy or controlling or manipulative nature, more caught up in the world than looking at life from a higher perspective or something. Sometimes then some of those people are mad that other people changed. And instead of wanting to deal with, well, why don't they change? Well, the whole thing is, if you don't have any motivation, we've all been there, right? Where I'm living my life a certain way. This is the things I find enjoyable. This is the way I want to keep living my life. And we could have other people like in our friend group that's like, I'm kind of getting tired of this. I don't find it that enjoyable anymore, and I don't want to do that anymore, and I think I want to move forward in life differently, and I might become independent of this group. Again, a lot of people in the group are like, oh, well, we still like doing this, so we're going to keep doing this, but you rock on, you go do you. And then there can be other people that are like, I want to backstab that person because how dare they not enjoy the things that we enjoy, and how dare they not live life the way we live life. And so there's going to be different types of people in our life. And some people do want to backstab other people. I don't like that you're not manipulated by the same things I'm manipulated by. Why aren't you operating more from your worldly egoic nature? Why aren't you being more self-indulgent in the world? Why aren't you investing in the things that I invest in that I think will make me happy? It's like, maybe because I already did that and I already found out that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, or I saw how it kind of manipulated me and it made me think that was the way for me to be happy, but I realized it put an end to me being happy. So, it could be like people had addictions or kind of got too caught up in indulging in something. And it's like, I don't want to keep indulging in that anymore. I'm no longer kind of caught up in the illusion that this is the answer to my problems. And I'm no longer emotionally invested in it in that way. Some people can get caught up in things like drugs or alcohol or sex or money or image or whatever. And, high vibe energy is just being more balanced. There's things I want to go enjoy in my world, but I don't want it to have so much, like I give it so much power in my life to be the answer to my problems that I end up sabotaging my life and relationships. And I want to be more balanced. And so I've offered love to myself to be more independent of things that used to manipulate me. And that means there might be people that are going to backstab me. There might be people I maybe won't hang around with anymore if I kind of get the feeling that they kind of secretly, maybe, our shadow nature and other people in shadowy energy can keep trying to tempt us in our ego, in our fear, in our codependency, in our lust, in our addiction, to keep living our life like that. And it's like, if you're not being more authentic and kind of supportive and encouraging and loving in a non-manipulative way, then I can't keep hanging out with you, So, let's see what else is coming up. Oops. Oh, it's kind of a big clump, so, all right. Then we have a card not showing itself, and the reason that came out is because of the Strength card, which the Sun card and the Strength card are Leo energy. We either harness a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy, which is operating more from our ego, and all these kind of different shadowy ways that I mentioned, to different degrees that people can kind of be in their more worldly, shadowy energy. Or we've tempered our ego. We've tempered emotionally our more beastly egoic nature. And then with this card not showing itself, the way I interpret that is that, for one thing, as high vibe people are moving forward in their life differently than they were moving forward before, because they worked through some things that had manipulated them in the past. They were willing to cut out quit aligning with this energy in a more shadowy way, and they were willing to cut out people in their life that were harnessing that energy in a more shadowy way. And what some people don't realize about more high vibrational people, shadowy people can be all about creating this illusion in the world. I'm going to go take this action in the world. I have an idea that's kind of operating from our pride and ego instead of letting love and intuition guide us. I have this idea that I can go out in the world and create this illusion about like how victorious and successful and wonderful my life is. And so it's just creating this illusion. And some people who are in that energy could think that some of the high vibe people in their life are just creating a better illusion than they are. And they could wonder, how are you doing that? But what they don't understand is you're not aligned with this energy in a more shadowy way. And what they don't understand is that you harness that energy in a more high vibrational way now. And that is the Ten of Pentacles. Like the Nine of Pentacles is Virgo energy. In our Virgo energy of self, we all tap into Virgo energy. We're either kind of motivated and inspired to do this inner work to love ourselves and free ourselves from things that manipulate us. But that in Virgo energy, it is earth sign energy. You have to invest time, energy, and effort to look at those things that you'd rather keep hidden in the dark. I have fear, I have insecurity, I have self-limiting beliefs. I'm immature, I'm prideful, I'm egotistical. I don't want to do love, I'm afraid of being hurt, something, you know? And high vibe people are like, I want to live my authentic life and I don't like these things manipulating me. So they did this work within themselves to quit being more aligned with their worldly egoic nature and making their life more about, again, investing their time, energy, and effort into things outside of themselves to make them feel better. It starts within yourself. I have to learn to offer myself love my own worldly nature, to get balanced within my shadowy nature and my loving nature, because balance is how we move forward in life victoriously, because otherwise we keep tipping out of balance and kind of like driving our life off into the ditch, indulging poor behavior in ourselves or in others. And if I've already been there and done that, and it didn't work out the way I wanted, I have to be willing to get out of my ego thinking I knew best. Pride comes before the fall. I need to temper my ego. I thought I knew what was what. And I thought, maybe I could change people, that if I'm a hopeful, believing, loving nature, even if I get in relationships with other people who aren't hopeful and believing and loving, I'm sure everybody's motivated and inspired by love, but we're not being illuminated to the truth. The Ten of Swords is Gemini energy, which is a dualistic sign, and it talks about our dualistic nature. What is my truth? Am I more about myself and the world and my defensive nature, or my immature, lazy, prideful, blame everyone else for my problems nature? Or am I motivated to free myself from my more immature worldly nature? For my high vibe loving nature to temper and discipline my more immature nature, and quit letting my more, that foundation within myself. We have this dualistic nature. My more shadowy, egotistical, immature nature keeps trying to manipulate me. And I have other people in my life who try to make me be in that energy. But I don't want to be in that energy. I can't get rid of my shadow nature. It's to see the truth of how my own immature, prideful, defensive, immature, whatever nature tries to manipulate me, and other people do also. And I need to learn to offer love to myself. I can offer love and encouragement to others, but I'm not going to get in a more involved relationship with them if they haven't freed themselves and learn some of the same life lessons that I've learned, because I want to be in relationships with people who have kind of learned some of the same lessons I've learned, that have kind of tempered their more shadowy nature to the same degree that I have, right? I mean, it's just like in people's emotional maturity level. If I'm 25 or 30, do I want to hang out with people who got an emotional maturity level of a 15-year-old? No. Because there's some life lessons they haven't learned yet. And the way they view the world could be more, I could view it more immature and self-indulgent or something. When I was 15, I lived the life of a 15-year-old too. Well, some people are 45, 55, 65, and they're kind of like a 15-year-old, right? Some of them always hide behind their false mask, male or female. Always operate more from their ego. Some of them are full of themselves. Some of them think, I don't have to do love. Some people think because in their Virgo, Leo nature that they've got certain traits, qualities, and characteristics. They don't have to do love. There's going to be other people that will want to be in a relationship with them. I'm attractive. I'm charming. I have social clout. I have money. I have power. I have influence. And then there's just some people who live in illusion and they're just full of themselves and narcissistic, right? But some people also really just don't want to do love. If I do love, I could get hurt. And maybe some people don't feel they could pick themselves back up again. What if I was authentically myself, and what if it didn't work out? Well, just because we're being more authentic and loving doesn't mean that everyone's going to want to be your friend or everyone's going to want to date you or marry you. We all know that just because other people could be authentic and loving to us doesn't mean we want to be their friend or get in a more involved relationship with them or marry them. We all kind of got to get out of our ego. And, again, it's about being love is supposed to be just and fair. Some people don't want to be just and fair because they're a little bit more about themselves secretly. And they kind of think it should be a little bit more about them. For some reason, that they should be a little bit more indulged in a relationship. Some other people have been in relationships with people like that. And they were willing to detach from those people. The Ten of Pentacles can mean people in their own family, people they had been in long-term friendships or relationships, people who they thought they wanted to be in long-term friendships or relationships. And it's like, wait a minute. I thought this was supposed to be about love, but I think you might think, shadowy Leo, that it's kind of, in high vibe Leo, you're being authentic and honest and loving and encouraging and supportive to yourself and other people, wanting everybody to grow to their full potential, for everyone to overcome their fears and insecurities, to keep growing to their full potential. Some people like to present themselves as that type of person in a relationship, but only so long as you don't heal and grow and mature yourself too much. It's okay for you to free yourself from some of those things. But if it gets to the point where that person would have to look at things that manipulate them, oh, well, no. We draw the line there. It's one thing for me to be in relationships with you people who have some things to change. But I don't have anything to change. And if they get in relationships with people who could appreciate that they were loving and encouraging and supportive, but once the other people wanted to have a more balanced relationship, a more authentic, deep, meaningful relationship, well, then the other people don't want to be in the relationship anymore. Because that would require them to be willing to learn lessons. And again, you have to get out of your ego to be willing to admit that maybe there's some ways of being that you would benefit from. There comes those times in our life. High vibe energy is about becoming more independent of some old ways of being. I've shed an old layer of myself, but other people were hiding, with this card not showing itself, that they have a way of viewing life and they don't want to let go of anything. Like the Ten of Pentacles, something they've learned everything they've needed to learn from a certain phase of life. Well, then you take the good building blocks from what you've learned. You are willing to see the truth of what are some of the things that should go. Where do I need to heal and grow and mature myself? What kind of things are manipulating me? It is time to go to the next phase of life. But that means they would have to detach from maybe their more worldly view of life. Maybe they're more egoic or they're manipulative or, just dealing with the truth of something. And some people are kind of in their ego about seeing the truth. And it could be that they view themselves, and in a lot of ways, they can be a very loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging person in a relationship. They just kind of don't want to maybe see the truth that there is kind of a self-interest there of so long as it works for them and where they don't have to be willing to be a student of life. Because after the Ten of Pentacles, if you close out a cycle, you kind of come out in the Page of Pentacles. I am ready to be a student of life and go on this adventure to go to the next phase of life. Just like I did, age 15 going to 18, 18 going to 21, 21 going to age 25. I had to detach from some old ways of viewing life, face my fears, love myself, quit indulging my more emotionally immature nature, shadowy indulging my more immature nature. I need to detach from this old foundation because I have learned everything I needed to learn here. The only thing that's stopping me from moving forward could be my fear, which is what the moon can talk about loving and believing that I can go to that next phase of life. Like step out of my comfort zone. Look at all the different things we did when we were young. 15 going to 18. We maybe had to go get a job. That was scary. We had to learn to drive. From 18 to 21, we maybe had to quit the first job. We had to go get a different job. That was scary. Maybe had to move out on our own, take responsibility for ourselves. All these things that we had to learn to overcome our fears and believe I can. Having in Aquarius energy, hope and faith and belief in my dreams. I believe I can. And high vibe Aquarius is about keeping things in perspective so you don't get so caught up in your head and trying to look at things from the big picture, that life is about these like small, steady steps. That's high vibe Virgo energy. You take these slow, steady steps forward. Nobody expects people like, oh my gosh, you're supposed to get out of high school or get out of college or have this limited life experience, and all of a sudden you're supposed to be able to do all these things. Even employers know, well, we've got to train you in on how we do stuff, and kind of if it's an entry-level job that we kind of know you know nothing, and we're going to show you how to do the phones and how to run the copy machine, and, just everybody knows that people need slow, steady steps, right? And sometimes we move forward in things and we're really excited, and then we're working with some people who lack some insight, and they're not very loving or supportive, encouraging at all. And then instead of getting in our ego and letting more shadowy people sabotage us, because shadowy energy in the world is about trying to stop us from loving and believing in ourselves. We just realize that this isn't a good fit. And I'm not going to let it, I'm going to see the truth. Where do I need to heal and grow and mature myself? What about the people I was working with? Was I willing to do that? Were they willing to do that? and I want to be proud of myself. I am going to grow and heal and mature what I can. The other people have to take responsibility for their part. I can be patient in a situation to see if other people want to do that work within themselves to temper their own pride or ego or fear or insecurities or grow up and mature themselves somewhat. And if they're not willing to, then I wish you peace. This is not a right fit for me, and I need to move on. And the people that are more bossy, controlling, manipulative, think they're the boss, think other people should give up their dreams and should give up loving themselves and letting these people run ramshot over them. That's sometimes the type of people they're looking for. And if you're not willing to let them do it, then they don't want you to be there anymore either, and they want you to leave. And sometimes we got to figure when we're in relationships with people, and people are kind of turning their back to us and not working with us cooperatively, being controlling, being bossy. That would be like shadowy Leo energy. But yet wearing this false mask, like they're this loving person, to the world or whatever. Sometimes it is because those people want you to leave. Because the way you're moving forward in life and the way you view life, and how in Aquarius energy, your dream and your truth and what you're trying to manifest, they know, even though they don't want to tell people, that that's not their truth. And if you would have kept being caught up in the illusion, they would have stayed in it. But if you're no longer in illusion and they can no longer manipulate you or intimidate you or control you, then they don't want to be in the relationship either. Some people only want to be in relationships with people who are caught up in the illusion about who they are, don't listen to their intuition. Other people who don't want to be more independent in the world. Do you want to make your life more about being in a relationship to be in a relationship, or be in a relationship more because of the ego or the image or the status? That's what I want. Do you too? And as long as you're willing to make your life just about those things, then they'll keep being in it, because neither one of you are really operating from a foundation of self-love. And you're both willing to maybe temper your more creative, inspired, authentic nature because you're more emotionally manipulated by the world and your worldly nature. And everybody likes to be in relationships with people who are on the same page as them and view life like they do. And, again, we can get in friendships or relationships or workplaces. We initially, to various degrees, can have some commonality, and it could just be, high vibe Leo that we can all harness is about learning to love ourselves, giving ourselves things that we wish other people would have given us, so we don't let people who are hurtful or unkind or unjust or unfair or unloving in our past, letting that keep manipulating us. I want to be free to go live the life of my dreams. And then high vibe Leo, also represented by the sun, and Aquarius energy represented by the star. I have a dream, and I want to go shine my authentic light in the world. And I've offered myself love to not let my own shadow nature and other people in shadowy energy stop me from loving and believing in myself. I'm going to detach from those people that operate from that type of foundation, from a place of love, because high vibe energy is from a place of love. Don't we think everybody would wish they didn't have these things that manipulate them, and that they could live their more authentic life and be more just and fair and loving? Probably, but they maybe get really caught up in their head and their ego nature or their fear nature or their defensive nature or their lustful, greedy, all these things that they think, if I go make my life about that, I'm sure I'll be happy. And they're going to keep repeating that until they get backstabbed and betrayed enough in their life that they start to see that until I love me, I can always look to other people to love me. But is that why I get in a relationship? Because I want someone to love me because I haven't learned to love myself? Well, there's going to be a lot of people who want to be in a relationship with people who haven't learned to love themselves. Can I manipulate and control you because you're a more codependent energy? Wonderful. You know, High Vibe Virgo is about realizing these things that we didn't realize were hidden in the dark. There's a lot of shadowy people out there in the world, hiding under cover, wearing a false mask, looking. They themselves gave up on love a long time ago. They probably had their own life experiences, and boy, I'm not going to be one of those loving people that people manipulate, take advantage of. Boy, if it's a eat or be eaten, I am going to be the person who manipulates other suckers that are loving. So they've kind of disregarded their own loving nature. All that can do is get me used and abused and hurt. I'm going to be one of the people who uses and abuses those other naive, gullible people in the world. You know, because why do some people reject their loving nature? Because they think it makes them naive and gullible or weak, vulnerable to being hurt. And they rejected it somewhere along the line. Or I'm so smart, I can, and I shine so bright in the world, or I'm so attractive, or I have this money or power, I don't have to do love. I can just manipulate people to get them to do what I want. Well, I think those people are going to have some really painful life lessons to learn. They have the free will to live their life like that. They might not have people who want to be in long-term relationships with them, who want to keep investing in them, because other people aren't as prideful and egotistical and hurtful and unkind and want to work together with people who are more authentic. And those people aren't going to put up with their shit. And the people who do might be other people who are happy they don't do love because they harness shadowy Leo energy too. You're just the kind of person I want to be in a relationship with. You're really into your ego and your image, right? I'm going to present myself as being high vibe Leo, that I'm this loving and warm and encouraging person, but secretly I'm very much about what I can get out of the situation. And then they'll have someone come in their life. And I think what some people don't realize, some people, we repeat certain patterns. And if some people gave up on love because they didn't like feeling like people were manipulating and controlling them, you know, their authentic life was to be more about themselves or more indulgent, or I don't really want to have to do love. I think they'll end up finding themselves in a situation because they reject people who aren't in that energy, don't want to be in a relationship with them. They can move forward in relationships with people, you know, trying to create this illusion that they're a more just and fair and loving person. But eventually they don't want to be in those relationships because they don't want to temper their ego nature. They're aligning with their own shadowy energy, and their shadowy energy doesn't have their best interest at heart. And their shadow nature, kind of like the devil, gets a stranglehold on them. And then they have other people in their life that are happy they're in that energy. And they are able to manipulate and control them and use these things. Well, my image is really important to me and how people view me is really important. Or money or materialism or, you know. And they'll have people that would be like, I'll indulge you in your ego. Oh, you know, I'm willing to give up love. You know, are you single? Do you present yourself well in the world? You just don't want to have to deal with your issues? Okay. As long as it works for me. And some of these people think if someone's willing to indulge them more in their ego, well, that person must love them. But some of those people are only doing it because it works for them. It's good for their ego, their image, their stability, their security. But the whole thing is, if people are in relationships with people and it's not because of love, why are they in it? That love is the foundation we build from if we want a solid foundation. What if someone else comes along who has more status, more ego, more image? Some people get tired of indulging them. I finally want to be indulged. I'm going to go find someone else to go indulge me. You know, or I'm only in it so long as there's money or status or image and power. If that comes to an end, I'm gone. Yeah. We're either kind of living in fantasy land, thinking we don't have to be just and fair and authentic and loving, or require other people to be that way, and think it'll work out in our favor. High vibe people have been illuminated to the truth. They temper their ego to be loving to their own shadow nature. They offer love and encouragement to other people, but they keep wanting to move forward, being in relationships with people who are more authentic and independent of their shadow nature to the same degree, comparably, that they are. What's coming up in the story after that? Oh, at the end here, we're going to get out some cards to ask what a possible outcome could be that people might not see coming. What is the rest? The Two of Pentacles, the Ace of Wands, the Ten of Cups, and the King of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Page of Wands. It can be difficult if there's people in our life that we wanted to be in relationships with, long-term friends, family, romantic interests. It can take time to heal from that. But eventually, the people who do this work to keep loving and believing in themselves, though maybe in my fire sign energy, because Leo's fire sign energy, and in my Aquarius energy, air sign energy of the mind, and I had a dream, there can be a part of me that still would like to be in a relationship with some of those people. But my Gemini energy of truth and love kind of stops me, because I know the truth that those people are more not on the same page. They still have these things that manipulate them, that don't manipulate me the way they manipulate them. And as people do this work within themselves and temper their own fears and insecurities and are loving to themselves, eventually in the Two of Pentacles, they kind of get where they've picked up their investment in that old dream and they're more balanced within themselves. And when they're ready, they are inspired to go have these new beginnings. It's just like some people put up with bullshit in a workplace. It can take other people longer because we all have to feel like we're ready to like leave a bad job or a bad friendship or relationship, right? When we're ready, the high vibe people, and listening to their intuition, when their intuition tells them, I am ready to go have this new beginning, I am ready, I've met someone, I have been waiting to have this new beginning, I am not going to indulge in something in my ego, I am going to keep maintaining balance within myself. When the people and the situations and the opportunities, what's that quote? Something about, I don't know, being prepared for opportunities or something. When you are ready, that's when the new opportunities will present themselves. And the King of Pentacles can mean jobs, friendships, relationships, marriages. And that you'll be ready to also communicate to other people. I have picked up my investment in this, whatever it was, or this way of living life. I'm no longer in my ego about it. I no longer want to live my life that way or be in relationships with those people. And I'm moving forward. And then as you're moving forward in that way and you're communicating, the wands can be about communicating. And of course, Aquarius, air sign energy, can be about communicating as you're moving forward in life. Then there's other people in the world that have to do this work within themselves. Am I going to be one of the people who moves forward with you, having hope and faith and belief in my dreams and looking at life from a higher perspective and working through my own fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs? Or if I kind of used to think it should be a little bit more about me being indulged in a relationship, male or female or same sex, whatever, Because we can be in friendships with people who kind of thought it should be a little bit more about them, because you're moving forward irregardless. And maybe have gotten balance within your Cancer and your Capricorn energy, because I view the King of Cups as Cancer and the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy, and they're on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel. And, the opposite sign of the zodiac wheel from Aquarius is Leo energy. We all could have been tipped more in favor in our Aquarius, our Leo, our Cancer, our Capricorn energy. More kind of motivated and inspired by these things of the world. But as time goes by, we kind of realize, that maybe we were too caught up in those things and making some of those things more important in our life than being more balanced within ourselves, and to look at life from a different perspective and learn these lessons and temper our ego and our fears, and maybe being too emotionally indulgent to ourselves and to others. And that there needs to be a balance between my more worldly nature and the things that I want and my more loving nature. They're equally important. And I have a dream and I've learned these lessons, and it is about balance. And it is about everybody taking responsibility to be more balanced within themselves and to have that more hopeful, believing nature, to get out of their more egoic nature and grow up and mature themselves. And then at the end we have the Queen of Swords, which I view as Aquarius energy. I got so caught up in these things of the world and all these things that people in my life or in my own head, I told myself, if I made my life about those things and did those things and ate those things and drank those things and was in a relationship, blah, 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 I'd be happy. And I ended up feeling betrayed because I wasn't looking at life from the bigger picture that, I have my own unique dreams and skills and interests and unique talents that, when I made my life so much about those things, maybe I was kind of rejecting, kind of investing in loving myself and my own, the pentacles can be like our own unique talent, skills, and interests, and kind of getting to a place where I learned to love myself instead of always looking to other people, because that kept me in more codependent energy. And then some of those people, if those relationships didn't work out, I could have felt like my whole foundation went away because I put so much investment in looking outside of myself for people to be the answer, to play that role in my life, versus me being like a good mother, father, coach voice to myself and being loving and encouraging to myself. Maybe I used to have more of a harsh, critical inner voice, and I was looking for someone who wasn't in harsh, critical energy to drown out my own inner voice, But our own inner voice is there regardless, and it's going to be there, and it's going to sabotage relationships if we don't change our own harsh, critical, or defensive inner voice and learn to love ourselves and grow up and mature ourselves and choose to have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves. We're not children anymore. We are supposed to take over that role within ourselves not be looking for a new mom or a new dad, a partner to play that role in our life. Because some people are happy to play that role in your life, but then you are supposed to be like the more codependent person. And if you ever get to where you seem to be getting on your own feet or feeling more grounded within yourself or more balanced within yourself, well, then they don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. Because they like a more imbalanced relationship. I like you being more codependent or fearful or self-critical. I'll join in on the chorus line. You could be getting new jobs. You could be getting in new relationships, getting in new marriages if some of you weren't in relationships or marriages before. Already seeing the truth of knowing who you don't want to be in a relationship with because they showed you the truth of who they were. What's coming up for the high vibe people? The Seven of Pentacles. Why? Because of aligning and choosing to invest in your more loving nature. Taurus energy also has to do with our philosophy of life. We can either align with our more harsh, critical inner voice, other people who are more harsh and critical, or we can align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature and align with people in the world who are more hopeful and loving and warm and encouraging and supportive. It's our free will. What we align with within ourselves can dictate what we align with outside of ourselves. And like I say, some people just try to create the illusion that they're aligned with like truth and love and acting with character and integrity, but that's really not the truth. They maybe want to keep juggling. They're more codependent themselves, might be looking for someone to indulge them in their more immature nature, or more motivated by money and materialism. Or if I've just got to temper my ego, I do not want to temper my ego. I am more immature, and I want to go find someone who maybe feels betrayed, who's been backstabbed, who's juggling, doesn't know the truth about me, and I'll go get in a relationship with them. And we'll try this whole thing over with someone else. High vibe people are investing in truth and love. They are tipped in favor of their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and they're looking to go find other people like that. What's coming up for the shadowy, worldly people that they don't see coming? The Knight of Swords. Why? Because of the Seven of Wands. They're going to have some, when people are kind of immature or shadowy in some way, defensive, prideful, egotistical, immature, controlling, manipulative, they're always going to have some more high vibrational people in their life that for a long time have been trying to get these people to look to the future, to have some hope and faith and belief, to grow up, mature themselves, get over past pain and heartbreak, because they wanted to move forward with them in high vibe Leo energy. I want to move forward with you. I want this to be a relationship worth defending. But eventually people see the truth. You're defensive to that, aren't you? You're unwilling to get out of your defensive nature and these ways of being or these ways of viewing life that you defend. And the Knight of Swords I view as Gemini energy also. And eventually we have to see the truth. Their truth and what drives and motivates them and how they want to live their life and what they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into and what they find emotionally fulfilling and their idea of the dream life and the dream relationship is different. If they were motivated and inspired to live their life like that, they would. We wouldn't have to keep trying to offer love and encouragement to people, trying to get them to be in that energy. They would already be in that energy. But kind of in our ego, it's kind of letting our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And there's people in the world who want to take advantage of our hopeful, believing, loving nature. Oh, I'm this hopeful, believing, loving person. Oh, look at you. You have fears, you have insecurities. I'm going to be loving and encouraging you. And those people are like, that's great. How long are you going to stay? Like a long time? That'd be great. I love being in relationships with people like you. At least until you have learned everything you needed to learn from being in a relationship with me, that I'm not on the same page as you. And I made the free will choice not to temper my ego and have that more hopeful, believing spirit to align with growing and maturing myself and healing from my past pain and heartbreak or my ego nature. But as long as you don't see the truth, we'll keep doing it. Works for me. And eventually the high vibe people, why do I stay in this? I put in work and effort to be loving and encouraging, and I have to work through my own ego nature about why I stay. I could be more codependent. We all can be seduced by these things of the world. I want to be in a relationship, the stability, the security. I want a job, if it's a job. But eventually it's like, I have a dream. My dream is not coming into reality here, and I'm starting to see the truth that it never is. Because my dream can only come into reality with people who are on the same page as me. And eventually the high vibe people speak their truth and they're defensive to these people. And then the shadowy people are mad. How dare you see the truth of who I am? You are supposed to keep indulging me. And the high vibe people are like, nope, I've seen the truth. I am not going to indulge you anymore. I have tempered my ego. I am willing to give up this dream because I see my dream can't come into reality here anyway. So I am picking up my investment, and I am inspired to take the lesson I have learned with me as I move forward and invest in getting to meet new people or get new jobs. I thought everybody would be motivated and inspired by truth and love, but apparently some people aren't. They're not willing to do love no matter what. Because they are not willing to let their more hopeful, believing nature out to play in the world. They could get hurt. So they decide, I'm going to keep repeating this pattern where I keep indulging my more immature nature that has this illusion that I can try to get in relationships with people who are more loving and emotionally mature and stable and grounded and truthful and hopeful and believing, and that they're just going to keep defending being in a relationship with me, even though they're in a relationship with someone who really isn't on the same page as them. But maybe even hoping, to use people's ego against them. Can I get you to marry me? If I get you in a relationship or a marriage, I bet you'd have a harder time getting out of it, right? When you eventually see the truth of who I am, because of your ego and your image and all that stuff, right? And yeah, some high vibe people kind of struggled with that too, but they said, you know what? I adhere to a higher truth and justice. This is unjust. This is unfair. And I'm not staying in something that's unjust or unfair. God does not want me to stay in a situation where people are manipulating me or using the love that I have for them to try to manipulate and control me and tempt me to stay in something more because of these things of the world. And I don't want to live my life like that either. So the high vibe people work through it. They speak their truth. They stand up for themselves and they move on. And some other people in the world are doing that. And just like some of you did it, just like some other people are doing it, some other people have done it. And they're up here waiting to invest in a loving person who's gotten out of some more mismatched relationships just like they got out of. And as we move forward looking for people who are more on the same page as us, there's going to be some people in the world that's like, nope, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I'd kind of like to indulge in a relationship with you. That'd be great. But if I do communicate with you and you speak your truth to me, I know that's not my truth. And basically I can't manipulate you. So I'm going to go over here and try to manipulate these people. And And then there will be other people that you will meet who moved ahead of you, other people who will come up the path after you that are going to speak the truth, who have that hopeful, believing spirit, are authentic. And you're going to say, wow, we're on the same page. We finished that chapter of our life. Let's move forward in this investing in this new way of viewing life. And the shadowy people will be defensive because they weren't willing to do that. And the loving, encouraging, supportive people in their life have moved on. And then they tried to go tell someone else in the world, no, I am the one that is the just and fair and stable and grounded and emotionally mature person. And you should want to be in a relationship with me. And then other people will get in a relationship with them, and some of those people will learn that this person isn't who they are. Or as they grow and heal and mature themselves, they see this person doesn't, and the same pattern will repeat again. Until eventually they find someone who is also defensive to looking at life from a higher perspective. I think life is about our ego and our image and how we look to the world. And I'm looking to get in a relationship with someone who has those things of the world. And I'm willing to stay in a relationship with someone who looks a certain way or has a certain power or influence or money. And you're willing to also, right? Perfect. Well, then they found someone who's on the same page as them. Hope they're happy. They just might be in a relationship more out of fear or ego or defensiveness, or because they gave up on love and the other people are investing in love. It's just free will. Do you choose to live more from your mind than your heart, your more defensive nature, or your more loving nature? Whatever you align with within yourself is kind of going to dictate who you're going to get in relationships with. And like I say, sometimes loving people are tipped out of balance where they kind of, but that can kind of be being in your ego too. Well, and it can be like, it's one thing to believe that it does, putting in work and effort, but not everything should have to be where we're trying to resurrect other people from the dead. They have to have some hope and faith and belief in themselves. And, it should flow a little more easier, if we're kind of in relationships with people who are kind of more on the same page as them. And I'm not going to try to change other people. I'm going to see the truth. People are where they're at. They view life the way they view it. I've already been in relationships with people, and I've been there where I viewed life like that. I don't view life like that anymore. And I want to go find people who are more on the same page as me, that I'm not trying to get them to change or view life differently or get out of their defensive nature or feeling betrayed. I can be loving and encouraging and supportive to lots of people. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship with you? No. Not until you have viewing the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn energy is represented by the devil. We've all got our more worldly, shadowy, fearful, insecure, petty, envious, jealous, blame everyone else for our problem nature. If I have freed myself from being in that energy to the degree that I used to be, I want to be in relationships with other people who have also, who kind of have that hopeful, believing spirit. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy. But like I say, the shadowy people, if they haven't been illuminated to the truth, if they still think I can change people or I want someone to indulge me, if that's their truth, that's how they're going to keep living their life. So we will see you next time. Bye-bye.